Every single thing you were taught about the 1970s global oil crisis is a complete lie. The history books tell you a simple story. They tell you that in 1973, countries in the Middle East suddenly cut off the world's fuel supply, causing gas stations to run dry, electricity bills to skyrocket, and the global economy to crash into a brutal recession. They showed you images of regular people waiting in lines for miles just to buy a single gallon of gas. They told you that fossil fuels are a scarce, dying resource, and that humanity was simply running out of energy. But the unsealed blueprints, missing ledger logs, and classified military diaries tell a completely different story. A story about a secret war fought in the dark to protect a trillion-dollar corporate monopoly. Because the crisis wasn't caused by a shortage of oil. The crisis was intentionally manufactured to hide the fact that we had just found a way to power the entire planet for free, forever. To understand how this happened, we have to go back to a top-secret industrial drilling project hidden deep inside a restricted military zone. A team of elite engineers had spent months boring a massive drill bit deeper into the Earth's crust than anyone had ever attempted before. They weren't looking for standard fossil fuels. They were testing a radical new theory that the deepest layers of the Earth don't contain old compressed bones, but instead generate an endless, self-sustaining ocean of abiotic energy. On a cold night in 1972, the drill hit a depth that shouldn't have been possible. Suddenly, the entire rig began to violently shake. The pressure gauges on the master control panels instantly went completely off the charts. But it wasn't a pocket of explosive gas, and it wasn't thick black crude oil. The pipes pulled up a continuous stream of an unrecorded, highly dense fluid compound that ran completely hot, generated massive electrical currents on contact, and possessed a chemical structure that could be processed into an infinite supply of clean, self-replenishing power. The project engineers were in absolute shock. They had just solved the global energy problem in a single night. They realized that no country would ever have to fight a war over fuel again. Every regular home, every car, and every factory could be powered for pennies. But before the crew could even radio their families to share the incredible news, the entire site was placed under a total communication blackout. Let me ask you a question right now, and I want you to really think about this. If you were the head of a massive corporate oil monopoly, and you found out that someone just discovered an endless supply of free energy that would make your entire multi-trillion-dollar empire completely worthless overnight, what would you do to stop it? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now, because what happened next is exactly how they took control. Within 48 hours of the discovery, an unmarked convoy of heavily armored military vehicles arrived at the drill site. A group of men in dark civilian suits, acting under direct emergency orders from the highest levels of government, took complete control of the facility. They didn't offer explanations. They forced every engineer and worker to sign strict non-disclosure agreements under the threat of permanent federal imprisonment. Every single scrap of paper, every digital hard drive, and every physical fluid sample taken from that deep earth core was loaded into unmarked crates and hauled away to a secure corporate vault. The massive drill hole was injected with thousands of tons of heavy industrial concrete, completely sealing the anomaly deep underground. Within a week, the entire project area was remapped, classified as an environmental hazard zone, and scrubbed from all public records. It was as if the breakthrough had never happened. But the corporate elite had a massive problem. The secret was safe for now, but independent researchers were starting to ask questions about why the military had locked down that specific sector of land. At the same time, domestic oil production was peaking, and the public was starting to demand cheaper energy alternatives. The billionaires who ran the global fuel cartels realized they needed a massive distraction. They needed to shift the public's focus completely away from domestic energy breakthroughs and make them believe that fuel was the rarest, most precious commodity on Earth. So, they triggered the geopolitical trap. Using back-channel diplomatic deals and financial leverage, the global banking elite coordinated with international oil suppliers to intentionally trigger a massive, artificial embargo. They used a regional war in the Middle East as the perfect media cover-up. Overnight, they slashed oil production on purpose. They ordered fully loaded fuel tankers to sit completely stationary just offshore, refusing to unload their cargo, waiting weeks for the panic to drive fuel prices through the roof. The mainstream media played its part perfectly. Every television network flooded the airwaves with terrifying news broadcasts telling the public that energy was running out, that the shortage was real, and that the government had no choice but to ration fuel. They forced you to stand in line. They forced you to pay quadruple the price for basic survival. And it worked flawlessly. The manufactured panic completely wiped out any memory of the secret deep drilling breakthrough. The fake crisis achieved two sinister goals at the exact same time. First, it made the oil monopolies richer than they had ever been in human history, pulling in trillions of dollars in pure profit from desperate citizens. Second, it created the perfect geopolitical excuse for the military to invade, destabilize, and occupy resource-rich regions across the globe for the next 50 years, all under the guise of protecting national energy security. The real wars of our modern era were never about securing foreign oil fields because we lacked energy at home. The wars were fought to maintain a brutal stranglehold on global society. They created a world of artificial scarcity, forcing billions of regular, working-class people to spend their entire lives working to pay off energy debts that shouldn't even exist. The evidence of what those engineers pulled out of the earth in 1972 is still locked away in a secure vault, completely hidden from the public eye. They rewrote your history books to ensure you would never look down, and they started global wars to ensure you would keep looking across the sea. They built an entire civilization based on a beautifully coordinated illusion. But now, you know the truth. Welcome to the lost timeline.